I'm Samantha Brown, professional organizer, decluttering specialist, and business coach. I created Pro Organizers Coach podcast to empower you to reach new heights in your business. I am on a mission to build a supportive sisterhood of passionate professional organizers. So whether you're a seasoned pro or you're just getting started, this podcast is for you. Hey friends, welcome back to the Pro Organizers Coach podcast. Today we are talking about your brand voice alignment and talking about, is it aligned to you? So what I mean by that is, does your messaging speak to your ideal client from your heart, from who you actually are on the inside versus what you think you should sound like, or what you think a professional organizer sounds like, or whatever those things are. And so if you've watched me for any length of time, you know I'm huge on messaging because I have people reach out to me and say, I reached out to you because of the messaging on your website. It spoke to me. And when people tell you that, those always end up being the best clients, right? Because they're in alignment with who you are. And so it really does matter that we talk about this. So I have Brie Morrissey with me, and she has a whole different kind of perspective on this. And so today, that's what we're talking about. Thank you, Brie, for coming on the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
All right. So tell us a little bit about you first, who you are, what you do, that kind of thing, and then we'll dive into the topic.
Okay, I'm Brie. Obviously, I am a branding and web designer with a background in organizing. Actually, I did that before I started this business, but I've been working in this field of branding for about 7 years now. And more recently, over the past year, I've been working on getting a lot deeper into your messaging and building a brand that really aligns with your personality and your values and the kind of experience that you want to provide for your clients, and making sure that's really aligned with who you are so that it's sustainable and you don't get burned out by copying someone else. Yeah, but I love all things branding, but then all things personality and psychology. And so this was a great way for me to blend the two and get even deeper into a new chapter in my business and reaching people in a new way.
I love it. Yeah, there for a while, the Enneagram was like a huge thing, right? And I remember one of my first probably 25 episodes or so, I had a lady that was a member in my community come in, and I think she did a two-parter because we couldn't get it all talked about in one, but specifically because she's an Enneagram coach. And it really does. The Enneagram helps us in a way, and to your point of personality types, values, all the things. The Enneagram helped me understand who I am, why I am that way, but when I'm having a bad day, the reason I am this other way. And like it helped me so much when I dived into that or dove into that. And so I'm a 2 on the Enneagram, but
Yep.
I was learning about the Enneagram when I was doing my website messaging and when I was doing all of my stuff in the very beginning to get my business started. So I feel like that really helped me hone in on, because one thing I've learned is the more that we look on the inside, the better our business does. The more that we can, what you said, make sure our brand voice is aligned, the better that things go for us, the quicker we're getting customers, the better customers we're getting versus just random people that we have a generic message and then all of a sudden that every Joe Blow's kind of calling us, but then we hate going to work or it's very
Yeah.
stressful going to our sessions or whatever that is, right? So to me, it's just part of the foundation of, I get it at first that sometimes we have to just get something out there. But definitely, even if you've been doing this a year, but you've not taken the time to really hone in on your messaging, there's no better time than now to start.
Yes, I agree. I think a lot of people do branding backwards or think of branding as very simply just a logo and a color palette. And oh, I'm just going to pick this logo because it's what everyone else is doing and it makes sense in my industry or whatever. And then they might DIY it, they might have someone create it for them, and then they have a color palette and they're like, cool, now I just need some photos of the work that I do and stick it all together and that's my brand. But really, branding is so much wider than that, broader than that. And what really helps to develop your brand is to create that foundation based on your own inner work and self awareness. Like you said, learning about who you were as a 2 and that you are somebody who has the heart to serve people. And so that naturally, it's important that kind of comes through in your messaging, so that when someone goes on your website, especially for organizers, because you're going to end up in their closets and
Mm-hmm.
working with in very intimate spaces in their home, and they need to know that they can trust you. But the way to do that wasn't just to say, oh, this is a list of all the spaces in your home that I can organize, or I've been doing it for this amount of time. That's great. That builds credibility, but you also want to build connection. And you do that through making sure that people understand or get a glimpse into who you really are, like on the inside, so they can trust you to even step foot in their home in the first place. So, yeah, knowing yourself is what my business, BK Branding Co., stands for becoming known. And one thing that I like to share is I think in order to become known, you have to first know yourself. And if you want to communicate with people in a way that really builds connection and gets conversions,
Mm-hmm.
then you have to know yourself first. You can't just say, "Oh, I like organizing." That's a very outward expression or habit that you've built, but that deeper self-awareness is really important when it comes to knowing how to communicate the emotion behind what motivates you, or the values behind how you build your brand, or how you build the culture of your brand, or the type of service you want to offer, how you're going to do that, and then how to communicate it to people. So yeah, it's a
Yeah.
lot more complex than just I like organizing or I'm an Enneagram too. It's how can we bring those two things together in a way that communicates it really well. And to your point, you were saying you can know your personality, or you can not know your personality, and then you might just end up copying people or copying what people are saying or whatever. And I think when you build that brand foundation around your personality and your values and your past experiences, then you can develop that who's that avatar, who's that ideal client, and what kind of messaging am I using to get, or what kind of pain points do they have, and how can I use my own strengths and my own personality to connect the two, right? And then when you're
Absolutely.
creating content, it gets so much easier. It gets so much
So much
easier.
easier.
You're not just, oh, what is Jane over there on Instagram posting? Okay, I'll just copy that reel and do it myself. That doesn't create an authentic, unique brand
At
experience
all.
or anything.
And then you're not going to
Yeah.
stand out because it's not, to your point, it's not just colors, it's not just the visuals. Those are great, right? It's nice when those are pleasing to the eye and calming and different things like that as an organizer, because most
Mm-hmm.
people are overwhelmed when they reach out to us. But there's also energy that gets put into it. And if you're not putting authentic energy into it, people, they may not know what's wrong about it, but they're going to know something doesn't feel right because it's
Yep.
not authentic. And
Yep.
in this day and age with AI and all the things we have going on, which I love me some good Chad, don't get me wrong, which is Chat GPT.
Chad
Chad,
the
we call him
chatty.
yeah, we call him Chad in the community. I'm like,
Okay.
ask Chad what he thinks. But then again, you take it and you use it as a way to interview yourself, or you use it as a tool, not as the end all be all of what it says, right? You have to
Yep.
take it and then still make it your own. And so I think in this day and age, people are looking for authenticity more than they realize. And I think on a deeper level, they're really looking for that
Yep.
authenticity. And so I think whether they know it or not, when someone's authentic in their messaging and in their content and all the things they're doing, it's going to speak to them louder than the other people that aren't doing the authentic messaging.
Yes, I totally agree. I think that between COVID happening and the cultural shift that came from that, of so many people either getting laid off or just leaving their jobs and starting businesses, there's that perspective and aspect of history. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's AI, the age of AI quickly developing. And I think between those two things, we're realizing, okay, I really want work that's sustainable for me, that's not just working for the man, but something that's built around my needs and my lifestyle. And then also with the rise of AI, you're seeing a lot of sameness. It's like you're just
Yes.
drowning in sameness all the time, because so many people, even two different ideas written by ChatGPT could sound very similar, because the cadence of the sentence is the same, or the kind of phrasing it uses is the same. And so you have to really put a lot of initial thought and source content into it in order for it
Mm-hmm.
to come out with anything authentic or human sounding. And then, so I almost think of it as you have to give it a lot of information on the front end, and then you also have to go in and edit on the back end. So it's like helpful
Absolutely.
to an extent, but a double-edged sword because you really have
Yeah.
to, you still have to double check it and give it the information. So yeah, it saves time, but then you still want to make sure it's authentic to you and you're not using it as too much of a shortcut.
And even for me, like with the podcast or on YouTube, like I'll ask it for help with a title or a description or something, but I'll ask it to give me 10 or 50.
Yeah.
And then I'll look through it. That'll get my brain going. And then I
Like a
do what,
brainstorming tool. Yeah.
yes, yes, that's exactly what I
Yeah, I've
use
done
it for
that.
is a
I've done that before.
brainstorming tool.
Definitely.
And recently I've actually been looking into Claude a lot more than chat because chat feels very, someone said this the other day. Chat feels like your mom just telling you, like, "Oh, you did such an amazing job. Good
I
job. That's
agree.
so amazing." And people don't
Yeah.
want that like
Hmm.
coaxing anymore. Oh, like especially as entrepreneurs. Don't tell me like, "Oh, that's the best idea on the planet."
Turning everything
No.
into a positive, it's like toxic positivity coming from
Yeah.
ChatGPT. And I agree. I've switched to Claude recently too. And I'm like, okay, you're going to take all this data that I've got. Like I did a huge export and
Yes.
am now picking through it. Okay, Claude, now you're going to tell me like it really is and help.
And Claude over time makes it sound more like you
Hmm.
versus chat, which stays sounding like chat no matter
Right.
what.
So many fights. I told you to say it like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Fighting with your
Hmm.
AI tool. That's hilarious. Okay, so what are some of the different ways that you have taken brand voice, right? Like kind of the, because I know the Enneagram, you had mentioned that, and then I know psychology, but you said there's some other tools and stuff. What are the tools that you've brought to the table that you specifically use to help people with their branding and stuff?
In the Align for Design course that I developed over the past winter, I have created this philosophy around branding being personality based or you based. And that's not just your personality, but it's also your personal values. And sometimes that ties into personality, like I value family, or I value a slow paced life, or I value minimalism, or I value community, or whatever it is. You can translate those into your business as well, which obviously is going to affect your brand voice. And then also your past, like things that have happened in your past, the kind of career you came from or came out of, maybe even some bad experiences that you've been through that you consider bad, but you can actually really use them to bring wisdom and realness and into your brand messaging. And then just pulling all of that stuff together to create a story, not create a story, write your story that in a way that's not oversharing, but also like sharing enough to connect with people. And also ch- narrowing down. So people talk about niching,
Yeah.
and obviously, niching is going to contribute to your brand voice and your brand message. Sometimes your brand voice is part of your niche, right? Like some people, and if we're talking about organizing, some people might have a very specific style of communicating with people. Like one really extreme one that I like to share or think of when I'm sharing this concept is the the boot camper kind of organizer,
Oh my
where it's
God, they
like,
drive me nuts. If you're one of those girls, like we need to talk because I love you. I get it. But like
yeah.
you can't go in being like, okay, loosen it up,
Here,
drop
I
and give
think
me
it really does
20.
no, totally. That's because you're a two.
Yeah.
And the two is like, no, it's about like emotional connection.
Helping them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
helping them. And so it totally makes sense that you'd be like, no, it's because that's not, if you were looking for an organizer, you wouldn't want that type of organizer. But
Right.
like someone who's an eight who just wants you to tell them like it is,
Oh
and
my
like,
God, my
like
husband's an
they're
eight. He gets
gonna,
on my freaking nerves with that stuff.
they're gonna want someone who's just gonna come in and be like, look, this is what we're doing. Like, why are you keeping this crap?
Yeah,
So it really just depends on your personality. And that's why, like, it's okay to be who you are and for
absolutely.
that to become part of your brand. And so your personality and your can be part of your brand voice. And that can translate into how you actually do the actual work and how you talk to the client on scene. So that's just an example. So what I was trying to get to was like, what's your differentiator? Like, what things about you, like all these things that we've talked about, your personality and your past and your values and all that. And what does that mean? What pieces of you can you turn into a unique offer or experience for your client? Like
Mhm.
you might have worked as a nurse in a nursing home, or and so you have a lot of experience with people transitioning into maybe that kind of care. You might have a lot of experience with their children having to declutter for them after they've gone, or you might have experience with bereavement, people going through loss. And so that kind of experience, or you might have even gone through those kind of things a lot in your own life. And so you have a lot of perspective and wisdom around that. That's just one example, right? But that could be a very powerful niche to have, to where
Absolutely.
you become the bereavement organizer, can really, really speak to people on that level because you have so much experience with it, and maybe it fits in your personality too, of like maybe you're a 4 and it's all about empathy or something. So there's just different ways where you can bring your past and your personality together to create something that's really unique, and then obviously that's going to benefit you in the long run if you become the organizer for that type of work.
Yeah.
It will
Speaking
make
of
you
like
expert.
niching in and becoming the expert, right? I think a lot of times as an organizer, and you've worked with organizers, you may be able to speak to this too, but I think a lot of times we expect them to niche in too soon in the sense of knowing what their niche
Hmm.
versus what you're saying of being authentic. If you're authentic to you, you will naturally find your niche
Yes.
by working with some different people, looking at all the things you're talking about. You will naturally find that. But when we get in our head and we're like, oh my God, I have to niche in before I launch my website, or I have to niche in, I did that. And for weeks, I got stuck because I was like, I don't know. Okay, everybody out here is
Yeah,
telling me
that's
to
because
niche down.
if you're thinking I need to invent this, decide who I am and what I offer, that's so much pressure. But what I'm
So
helping
much
you do is
pressure.
to uncover it instead of inventing it. We want to uncover it just by knowing, being more aware of who you are, and it will naturally come to the light. Kind of
Absolutely.
strength.
Well, and that's how I ended up doing. I finally was like, screw this. I'll figure that part out later. Cause sometimes when you're starting your business or as an entrepreneur, even once you've started, but definitely when you're first getting started, there's certain things that you have to be like, all right, I'm putting this on pause because I'm getting stuck on it. Let me
Yeah.
move on to the next thing, keep it moving, and then I'll come back to this thing. And so for me, that's what I did with niching. I was like, forget this. When I got into my messaging and I really honed in on who I was and exactly what you're saying, that I've been a caregiver, that I'm an Enneagram, that these are my values, like all the things, all of a sudden my messaging started naturally becoming authentic and just who I was. And I never really had to specifically niche in because I was already niched because I had to learn to declutter on my own. In my own house, I had to learn to declutter.
Yeah.
So I naturally went into decluttering. Like there were these things that we're like, duh, of course, right? But in the moment when you're trying to put that pressure on yourself and you're not trying to get coached, you're trying to actually figure it out on your by yourself. Oh my gosh, the pressure.
Yeah, and there's a lot of outside influence too. Oh, everyone's like, "Oh, just go luxury." Everyone, and
Ugh,
trust me, I've worked with a lot of people who want to go that route, and that's totally fine. That is a legitimate route to go in terms of
absolutely.
your niche. But there's also people who have come to me and they're like, "Okay, I've been trying to do this luxury thing, but I'm realizing I don't actually want to encourage my client just to buy product. I want to really declutter, or I realize that I don't connect with people in affluent neighborhoods or communities or whatever. It just doesn't really work
Or
for me.
that
And that's
aren't
not,
there where they hire me and then they're like, just do
yeah,
it for me instead of
yeah.
working with me.
And some
Like,
people want that. Some people
yeah,
want that, but
a
other people really,
thousand
and
percent.
that would make sense where maybe you wouldn't want that because you want that connection. You want to work with someone, but like there might be other
Yes.
organizers who are very much, I just want to be
Oh
alone.
yeah,
So
no,
that's
I've got some
perfect.
girls in my community that are like, "Sam, I love you, but I don't want my client around." And I'm like, "Get it,
Yeah.
girl, for
Yeah.
sure." I just know there's this sense of working with clients and working for clients, right? And
Yeah.
those are almost the two different sides of it,
Yeah.
and neither one is right or wrong or bad or
Mm-mm.
good. It just is what it is. And sometimes as an organizer, we don't I feel like bringing some of that to the light of it's not just the working for affluent luxury client, it's also the working with the overwhelmed mom that lives on the average whatever, right? And so I think both are great. It's just to your point, figuring out which one fits in with who you are
Yep.
naturally versus
Yes.
trying to force it.
Yes, because if you are like somebody who just really wants to build that connection and that more on a personal level, and you get hired by these people who are like they are never there, but they've got 8 different people who are workers in their house doing
Mm,
stuff, but you're never really connecting with them, and you're having to text them pictures like, "Do you want to get rid of this?" Whatever. Like that's a
yeah,
totally different experience, and you might not feel fulfilled in your work because that's really not what you're good at. That's not your strength, and like you might be great at organizing, and that's fine. But if you feel like you're not connecting with people on that heart level, then ultimately that's going to burn you out and you're not going to feel like your business is fulfilling you in the way that you intended when you started it. So yeah, so
Absolutely.
definitely figuring those things out on the front end just helps you build a better foundation in the long run so that your business lasts longer and you're not constantly having to like rethink, wait, what am I doing and why am I offering this and why aren't I getting the clients that actually make sense to who I am?
One of the biggest fears that new professional organizers have is this: what if I get a client and I don't know what to do? Because organizing is not just about bins and labels. It's about guiding real people through overwhelm, emotional attachments, and through life transitions. This is why I created my How to Work with Clients as a Professional Organizer course. Inside the course, I walk you through the entire client journey from the first inquiry to the phone call, the consultation, your organizing sessions, and how to follow up. You'll learn how to run confident consultations, lead productive sessions, measure spaces for products, and create systems that help your clients maintain their spaces long after you leave. You'll also receive client paperwork, consultation guides, intake forms, and process templates that help you work professionally with every single client. Because when you feel confident walking into a client's home, you're able to focus on what really matters, helping them experience real transformation in their space. So go to proorganizerzacademy.com, scroll down to the course, and click Learn More to see a video of what's included in the course. Or why am I not getting any clients at all, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes if the messaging doesn't hit, you're not going to get anybody. That you may get a few, but barely any. The other thing that I wanted to make sure we mentioned before we got too far into this is, so you're coming to do our workshop in September inside of the
Mm-hmm.
community. So if any of you guys have been thinking about it, come join the community. Or if you've been thinking about getting a course, you get 3 months of the community for free. She's coming to do our September workshop, and we're going to dive a lot deeper on this topic. So this is just like an appetizer, right, to the actual workshop. So if you're loving this conversation, make sure to
Yeah.
come join us. So then that way you can be there for the September workshop. And okay, so you have your course, which is aligned for design, or aligned for design. Is that's the
Mm-hmm.
course? Okay.
Yeah.
So can you share just like a few pieces of kind of like what's in it and what they get out of it and that kind of thing?
I've already talked a lot about developing your brand voice and that story based on who you are, right? I think that the messaging and everything is such a huge foundational part of your brand. But I go so much deeper than that. After we get through all that and writing out your story and choosing your values or uncovering, like I said, your values and your personality and your niche and all that good stuff. Then we go into the actual visual side of things. So I'm a designer, brand designer, obviously. So I'm teaching you how to take everything you've learned and design your logo, and to take everything you've learned and to design your website. And I used to have a shop of website templates, and now I've just added them into the course. So it's all comes together with my Canva templates and my website templates and everything. Everything I'm teaching you it's about creating the brand, not just about creating the story or the messaging of who you are, but it all goes together. So after you build your website, then we go into your brand, the brand, what do I call it? Your brand process, or and like your client journey. So we're going to go into everything about building a workflow that really resonates with who you are. And also we talk a little bit about like CRMs and those systems and everything. Really, it's about like creating something that makes sense to you, like I said earlier, so that you feel like you're really connecting well with the client, and whoever you are, that translates into the kind of experience that you bring to your clients.
Yeah.
Like those
Well,
little
and that you
those little
think it through.
special yeah, those little special touches or personal touches that you have in your brand, like maybe a handwritten note afterwards, whatever, those kind of things can really become aligned with who you are and make sense to be a part of your brand. And then the last module in the course is about sustainability. I help you decide how to like market, like what ways you want to market your business so that it actually is sustainable for you and fits into your lifestyle and what kind of brand you want to lead as it
Yeah,
grows, and your
absolutely.
leadership and everything. Basically, that whole idea is you want to build something that you actually can stand with, like working inside of.
That, yeah, that doesn't burn you out and that actually
Yeah.
fulfills you, which, yeah, I had one of my ladies this week in our group coaching community. When we were doing our group coaching, she had mentioned, so she went almost overnight from no clients to being fully booked out for the next month, it almost
That's
overnight.
awesome.
And it is awesome. But all of a sudden now she's feeling the pressure of working every day in her
Yep.
business, not just on her business. Right. And so there's this, sometimes it's nice to slowly slow and steady, and for her it was very quick, and so she started feeling the effects of working every day in your business and all the things. And she was just saying how my business doesn't feel like I thought it would. I quit a 9 to 5 to essentially still be working a 9 to 5 in a way, or with what
Hmm.
feels like a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And I was like, girl, I get it. But there's also a lot of stuff that, to your point, if you rush the beginning of it too soon, or if you rush certain things, not saying she did by any means, she just got super blessed with these amazing clients that just came, and that's phenomenal. But some things you just don't know until you're in it too. But to your point, if you're bringing awareness to it, then you've already thought through it. So
Yeah,
as it
yeah,
starts to
exactly.
happen, then
You
you're
put
like,
in those guidelines, you
oh,
put in those boundaries
yeah,
based on who you are and what you know is going to work for you. You really
yeah.
have, it does take a slower approach, but in the end, it's just so much stronger and longer lasting for you because you've thought about, okay, how many clients can I take in a week? How am I going to do this work? Like, how many hours a day am I going to work? Like, how often am I going to check my email? What are the expectations that I want to build into this brand? That's all part of branding
Yeah.
because your brand is what people think of when they think of you or after they work with you. It's like, okay, it's not just like she's a great organizer. It's like she really was a her customer service. I knew exactly what to expect and I felt taken care of because she had the CRM set up, but I also knew what the boundaries were. Like that creates a much better experience than like they're asking you questions.
Talking about rushing sessions this week too. And I was telling them, sometimes as an organizer, part of being an organizer is sometimes slowing it down and taking a step back for the client and
Mm-hmm.
looking at the big picture, besides feeling like, oh, we've got to go from the second you walk in. Because I've done that too. And that gets
Mm-hmm.
exhausting really quickly. Where sometimes you don't know the plan until you get there, or you don't know the plan until you see the space or whatever it is. But sometimes you still have to be able to take a step back. Or if a
Oh my
client's
God.
wanting you to come up with an answer right then, it's okay to say, hey, you know what? Give me some time to think about that because I want to do a really good job about it. Give me 24
Mm-hmm.
hours. I'll get back to you. It's okay to say those things so we can come up with an accurate plan and then be able to convey it to them, because we have
Oh
to
my
think
gosh.
through
Someone would much
too.
rather hear you say, I don't know, let me get back to you, than like for you to just make something up or and end up not sounding credible. And also on the other side of the extreme, like you could end up with this old lady Sally who like just wants to talk to you the whole time and you're like, we're not getting anything done. But like that's okay. The way that you respond to that is part of your branding. Like
Absolutely.
that creates that environment that's like it's okay. You could be someone, I'm a 9, so I'm all about, well, let's just be chill,
Peacemaker, right?
peace,
Is that
just be peaceful and like everything's very calming. And so obviously I'm like, slow down, just
yeah.
relax. Let's figure this out step by step. So that's me, and that makes sense for like the kind of my philosophy. And also it would make sense that when my clients work with me, they might be a 6 and they're all anxious and they're like, I don't know, like it's got to be right. And what if I don't know what I'm doing? And what if I end up making the wrong decision? And I'm just like, just relax. It's okay. We're going to take this one step at a time. When people come back and they're like, 90% of my testimonials are like, she just was so calming. She made me feel like everything was going to be okay.
Yeah.
Because that's part of my brand. And it makes sense because
Absolutely.
it's
Which
part of my
makes sense
personality.
now
Yes.
why in your webinar you start off with drinking a cup of coffee or
Yeah.
tea or whatever it was
Yeah.
and sitting there chilling and with the candle. And I was like, holy crap, this chick's got this whole soothing, amazing vibe going on in her webinar. And speaking of, before I forget, will you please tell everyone about the webinar, and I'll make sure to link it in the show notes too.
Yeah. So my webinar is a free training for you. And in it, I go through my own framework of the 4 archetypes behind your brand. So basically, it's I created my own little personality because I'm such a nerd about personality. I created my own little branding personality archetypes quiz. And you can take the quiz, and based on your archetype, I walk you through what that means for your brand and what are some strengths and weaknesses to watch out for. And then obviously, I dig a lot deeper into what is in my course and what you'll learn through it. But yeah, that is called the U-shaped brand, and I'm sure the link will be in the show notes. But
Yeah,
yeah, you're welcome to
absolutely.
join me there.
Yeah, and then I know you also said it's at your website. So what was tell them your website again, just in
My
case.
website is bkbrandingco.com.
Okay, bkbrandingco.com.
That's right.
Perfect. Which it will, it'll still be in the show notes and description stuff. Okay, so last but not least, when your clients embrace everything
Mhm.
and they start going through your method and stuff, like what are some of the transformations you've seen?
Yeah, I think it's multifaceted, really. I think the biggest transformation I see is their confidence behind what they're building. So instead of having that underlying thought of, oh, I'm new to this, I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm just figuring it out as I go, you actually have that foundation of identity. This business is built around my identity, and it just has become an extension of who I am. And therefore, everything, when I talk about it, I feel more confident. When I post and caption about it, I feel more confident. When I create a new offering or go on a consultation, it's just an extension of me. So it's like I can live inside this brand because it's part of me, rather than like I'm building something, I'm inventing something off to the side, and I have to memorize what that is so that I can make sure I show up doing it,
Yeah.
showcasing that or reflecting that. No, this is reflecting you. So in that sense, I think it gives you a lot more confidence. But then also just it's more fun. So have a brand that looks and feels like you. So I've had
Right.
clients where, for example, one of my clients, it was a while back, but I actually reached out to her because I saw her website and I've only pitched a few people, but I reached out to her because, and you might know who she is. Her name's Kim, and she runs Organizing Spaces with Kim. And I reached out to her several years ago and I was like, I think your website could reflect your brand, like your Instagram, like the way you come across on social media a lot better. Because at the time, it was just a basic like blog, and it was all white and just looked like an essay, but it had a little bit of her logo was like, you know how when those splotches of watercolor were popular. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not trashing on her brand at all or what she had at all. She was doing amazing on social media, and I love her personality. And that's why I reached out to her, because I was like, this isn't reflecting you. You have this like vibrant seven. You're like a type seven. You're just like everything has to be fun. And I wear neon and I wear sparkles, and it's straight out of Saved by the Bell. And I was like,
Right.
this lady, her website is very calm and neutral. And it just like, I was like, let's just rewrite this. And I sent her some Pinterest ideas, and she was like, oh my gosh, yes. And so we went like full neon, and we've done several renditions of it, but it fully her, not just her, the visual branding of everything, but also her messaging. It reflects who she is because it's all about having fun.
Yeah.
And that's her personality. And she's very young at heart, and she's very enthusiastic and has a big team. And now everything just really, she has a company car that's hot pink. Everything is very
Right.
vibrant. And so now her website really reflects that. And so that's just one example on a visual level, how important it is to, that's crazy. You might think, whoa, neon, bright colors, hot pink, whatever. Everyone in organizing is all about and natural and organic. And that is an aesthetic in interior design. Yes. And so it naturally has become a trend in web design and branding. And that's fine until everyone looks like that. And so I
Yeah.
think it really is important. If that's you, that's great. And if it makes sense, that's great.
Yeah.
But why? Why would you want
Yeah.
to look like everyone else when, you want to
Well,
make sure that actually your website reflects who you are, and the colors and the content, the way that you communicate, and the kind of things you offer, and
all the
the kind
things.
of
Yeah.
pictures you post. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so those are just some examples.
No, I totally get it because there was one of the girls that I was helping her create her website probably a month ago, month and a half ago. So my template is very like neutral, but I also
Hmm.
get that other people aren't, right? And so she was going through the website course and she had done the essentials and she had done all the stuff, but got to the picking her brand colors, and she had started, you know how sometimes you end up down that which you probably don't anymore, but maybe when you first started designing, when you first start designing, you can end up down this rabbit trail of these crazy colors that you're like, how did I end up here? And why is it showing me these colors that go together?
Okay.
This has nothing to do with who I am or how I feel or
Uh,
any of the things. But she had picked these two like super powerful popping colors, which was great because that's who she is and that's what she wanted her brand to represent,
mm,
which is fantastic. But like I told her, those two colors kind of clashed a
mm,
little. I'm like, okay, can we pick, let's pick one and then we'll see what kind of goes with that. Right. But I think to your point, making sure, and we ended up coming up with a color she loved that actually went together, all the things. But
yes.
I think that making sure it doesn't have to always be exactly the same. And I think the other thing too is sometimes you can start off because I think my first website, I just picked a random template offline because I just needed something and I needed them to go ahead and just tell me the colors, tell me all the stuff, get it done for me because I needed to keep it moving. Right. And so
Yeah.
I just picked one that I liked. I went with it. I did my messaging, kept it moving because sometimes just getting it off your plate is good, which is why I was
Yeah.
also saying that even if someone's been doing this a year and now they're just ready for a rebrand,
Yeah.
this could even be a good opportunity for them as
Hmm.
well because sometimes you have to kind of work the business a little bit or you have to go through your first kind of like you said with Kim. You guys have went through a few renditions, right?
Yeah, and if you don't fully know what kind of organizing you're going to enjoy doing, it might just be harder to pull that information out of yourself. You might have to
Right.
actually experience it first. It's understandable. Sometimes that's just the way it goes.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too is to my point of niching in and how it became more natural for me is I finally was like, all right, let me just get done what I can get done. Let me work with some clients. And as I started going, but I'm more action oriented. So as I go through things, sometimes I figure it out better than trying to just be in my head thinking about it before actually experiencing whatever.
Yeah.
But my point is that your course would be great for an organizer just starting or even someone that's been doing it a while, right?
Oh, definitely.
It
Yes.
doesn't fall in one or the other. It's wherever they're at. If they feel like they're ready to take on, okay, who am I as a brand? Who am I as a business? Who am I? And I'm ready to take the steps to be able to figure that out and then implement the stuff. I have the space for that. And that's because we always know on the inside if it's time to do something. And if you're just like, ooh, this is more interesting, then come to the workshop in September so you can learn
Yeah.
more and then
Hmm.
you can kind of go from there, right? Or go take your webinar because that's free. So I think just sometimes just learning more like I just did a mastermind with a guy that I didn't even know who he was before I interviewed him on the podcast. And then he was telling me about this mastermind he was doing and long story short, I ended up in his mastermind and it was really helpful and beneficial and now I'm creating a whole cohort and like all the things through him and going through all that. But it wasn't on my plans. I didn't plan to do that. I didn't whatever, but sometimes God puts things in your path so you can start to learn about that thing and you can start to dive deeper so you become a better human but you also become a better woman and business owner and less
Yes.
stressed and less overwhelmed and all the things, right?
Yes, absolutely. A lot of us, 5 years, 10 years into our business, we're like, okay, this is going great, but what's my next chapter? What's my next step? And this course is also great for that because it helps you step back and pull it apart piece by piece and be like, what is this to me? And where is it going? And what could I tweak to make it make more sense for where my life is now? Because maybe it's totally a different place. You might have started when you're single and now you've got 3 kids. Like,
Right.
it just might be
Very
different,
true.
or maybe you're empty nester now and you can ramp it up a lot or change it, or maybe you want to switch from in-home work to become the next big organizing blogger. There's so many different things or directions your journey can lead you, but this also can just help you determine what that is and how to go about communicating that to the
Accomplishing.
world. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. No, I think that's fantastic. And that's the whole reason I wanted you to come on the show was because I think this is a huge conversation for any business owner, but especially as organizers, because sometimes we get so stuck in the day to day because we are not just working on our business, we're working in our business, we're working
That's
for
right.
our business, we're working with we're doing it all typically. And so just being able to have this conversation and present this offer, but also just talk about it. I think a lot of this stuff and the whole AI thing, I think this was a great
Hmm.
conversation. So I
Thank you.
appreciate you
Yes,
so much
agreed.
for coming. And then you guys make sure to go check out all the links and get Bree's info and go check out her webinar. And then, yeah, we appreciate you being here and we will check you guys out or check us out in the next episode.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bree.